I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Donald Trump took to his social media platform and just sent a horrific anti-Semitic message that is making its waves throughout here in the United States and globally. A horrific statement for anybody to make, a vile anti-Semitic statement. And the fact that it is the leader of the MAGA Republican Party making these statements at a time when anti-Semitism is on the rise here in the United States and abroad only compounds the problematic, disgusting, despicable nature of this statement that Donald Trump just issued. Let me read for you the statement, then let's talk about some of the reactions that it has received and what needs to happen next. The statement that he issued earlier states, "No president has done more for Israel than I have. Somewhat surprisingly, however, our wonderful evangelicals are far more appreciative of this than the people of the Jewish faith, especially those living in the U.S. Those living in Israel, though, are a different story. Highest approval rating in the world, could easily be prime minister. U.S. Jews have to get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel before it's too late." I want to read that last statement one more time. U.S. Jews have to get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel before it's too late. You know, MAGA has always had a significant anti-Semitic faction within it. In fact, now it's just full-fledged anti-Semitism. And as anti-Semitism is on the rise here in the United States and globally, it's no coincidence that that is being mainstreamed by MAGA Republicans. And so this is the statement that I make to the media. This should be the biggest story the media is covering right now, and not for a second should they let any MAGA Republican, which is now the Republican Party, get off the hook without answering where they stand in response to this statement. You know, I'm sick and tired of the media just saying, see no evil and hear no evil. This doesn't exist. We're not even going to cover it. Or when they do cover it, they try to do both sides-isms and act like MAGA Republicans are normal conservatives who engage in legitimate political discourse. This is simply not the case before, and it's not the case now. And the media, frankly, is also to blame for allowing this to occur. And so this needs to be called out and condemned by everyone. And we need to know where the Republican Party, now the MAGA Republican Party, where they stand on this hateful and heinous statement. We are getting responses now from a number of influential former politicians and thought leaders. Let's take a look at some of the statements coming in. Here we have Jason Kander, former presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. This is what Jason Kander says: Kanye and Trump and the right-wing voices who refuse to condemn their statements and in many cases echo them are mainstreaming anti-Semitism in the Republican Party. If you think that's an inflammatory statement, I bet rising anti-Semitism doesn't affect your family's safety. Here we have a statement from Yaakov Katz, who writes for the Jerusalem Post. Nothing to see here, just a former U.S. president using threatening language about American Jews at a time when anti-Semitism is on a global rise. Rena Shah writes, first Kanye West and now Donald Trump. The GOP's far-right MAGA faction is actively promoting anti-Semitism. This is the pure definition of hate speech. They must be held accountable for it. David Leopold, who was on the transition team for Biden on issues of immigration, writes, a lot of anti-Semitism to unpack here, but one thing is clear. Trump has no problem threatening American Jews. And then he goes on to quote what Trump said: U.S. Jews have to get their act together before it's too late. Lawrence Tribe writes, oh my God, Trump tells us Jews to get our act together before it's too late. If that's not anti-Semitic threat, I don't know what to call it. You know, he kept Mein Kampf at his bedside for years, right? If it quacks like a duck, and we know that from his now deceased former first wife, wrote how Donald Trump would keep Hitler's book and looked up to Hitler and had the Mein Kampf by his bedside each and every night. That was his favorite book. Alexander Vidman writes, Trump is executing the fascist playbook to turn his mob on Jews. Too often, media let statements like this be forgotten. Sometimes it doesn't even break through the news cycle. Most of the time, GOP isn't pinned down to tell people if they agree. It cannot happen this time. And here's the statement that we issued at MeidasTouch, and this is what I said at the outset. Every Republican should be asked if they agree with Trump's anti-Semitic post. And if they refuse to answer, they shouldn't be given a platform. Dangerous rhetoric like this cannot be ignored. Call it out for what it is. Stop placating fascism. Stop giving the GOP a pass. And this is to all the other media out there. There's a reason why the MeidasTouch network, unapologetically pro-democracy, not afraid to call fascists fascist, has become really the most watched digital media company in the United States and, frankly, throughout the world. I mean, just literally, you can look at our monthly numbers and compare it to the mainstream, and there is a reason why more people are coming here. But at the same time, it is vital that what we're doing here is not just uniquely to the MeidasTouch platform. I genuinely need and want, and we all need to call for it, that the other mainstream media out there, that mainstream media in general, condemns, calls this out, and stops having this goldfish type of memory where after 2 seconds they move on to the next thing, or they move on to whatever story is easy for them to report and turn a blind eye. There is not two political parties engaged in legitimate political discourse anymore. You have one party, the Democrats, who are pro-democracy, who support our institutions, engaging in legitimate political discourse, which is difficult, which is hard, which is complicated, and they don't always get it right, but they are making attempts to try to make our country better and solve problems. On the other hand, you have a MAGA fascist Republican Party that supports insurrections, that supports pandemics, literally are pro-pandemic, that supports the big lie, that supports election disinformation and disenfranchisement, that supports anti-Semitism, likes this, and frankly supports undermining all of our institutions. We need to wake up. The media needs to wake up. And I will leave you with this final statement. And you may remember this famous statement that comes from the Holocaust. And I will read it for you right now. And it goes, "First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me." History will repeat itself. Fascistic authoritarians like Trump follow the same playbook. If we do not call it out, no matter who you are, where you are, they will come for you. We need to band together. We need to be unapologetically pro-democracy. We need to condemn and call out xenophobia, racism, anti-Semitism in all of its forms, anti-LGBTQ+, anti-human rights. We need to call it out now. We cannot be on the sidelines. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers. It's free to subscribe. Hit subscribe right now. In addition to subscribing, if you want to support grow this independent media platform, no matter where you are in the world, here's what you can do. Head right now to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There are different exclusive membership tiers. You could become an honorary producer of our podcast and your name will appear. Get postcards from me and the other co-founders of MeidasTouch, my younger brothers. Get behind the scenes podcasts, exclusive footage, and more. That's all at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.